After his 21st birthday. And then one of my other friends, I watched her family fall apart during this process because she kept getting worse and worse. And, it's sad how drug like that, or drugs in any sense, can just rip a family to pieces. Because she was making terrible decisions, and we were friends, and we were only friends because during this time I never had a girlfriend. I was so hurt by my wife that any kind of female company was the furthest thing from my mind. So she was a friend of mine basically through drug use. And I just watched as she got worse and worse with her addiction. She would run off and stay with guys. And then she kind of halfway moved in with a guy, and her husband's at home with 3 kids. And her husband was an asshole. He really was an asshole. He was very childish, mean, vindictive behavior. But, the family didn't deserve to be ripped apart like that. So, I guess my judgment aside, it doesn't really matter. It's just my observation was watching a family get ripped apart from the inside out and seeing what this drug, especially as powerful as methamphetamines, can do. And yeah, so there was a couple of other families, more or less. Not the friend that broke in. He had one day a week or every other week he got to spend with his daughter, and his girlfriend had the same kind of arrangement with her sons. She got to see them once every couple of weeks. And when a woman has very minor custody like that, it's obvious she's kind of a train wreck. Yeah, especially in Texas. Not to get too far off topic, but they had some great fights. I just got to kind of share this story. I remember coming over one time and seeing what looked like some Freddy Krueger slash marks across the door. I guess they'd gotten in an argument. He locked the door. She took a circle saw and started hacking the side of the wall and the door. I mean, dude, his house was destroyed so many times.
Yeah, I had my brother had some drug issues, and I remember seeing how that affected my parents and my sister and me, and it was like, dude, I don't want no part of this. Because everybody, most of the guys I know that have been in that situation that do the drugs, well, it's just me. What do you care? Like they only see them.
Yeah,
and they don't see what everyone. It's doing to everybody around them.
Yeah. Well, see, when I started to fall into it badly, I definitely isolated myself, and it was kind of a perfect storm for me of what could go wrong. Because, my wife took my son, so that was devastating. I was medicating with something that was horrible and pushing people away. And eventually, my family kind of turned their back on me. My friends disappeared. I was a personal trainer at the time, and the gym that I was training at told me I couldn't train there anymore. So all these things I'm losing everything, basically. And, I guess I got more and more isolated, and that's part of why that addiction got so bad is just I had no one and nothing to answer to. Nobody gave a shit. Like my family, parents and my sister, they moved to Reno sometime in late 2014, or summer of 2014. And, they just kind of left.
Yeah.
They didn't talk to me anymore. My friends didn't talk to me anymore. The friends that didn't talk to me were talking about me because every now and then I'd hear all these stories about me. And so, that makes you, isolate yourself even more.
Even more. It makes it easier to go down.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I've got all these things taken away from me, which is part of the reason why it was so easy to come up with all this negativity all the time. Look what I've lost. Look what's taken. Look, blah, blah, blah.
It's a huge snowball effect.
That's exactly what it was. It was so many things coming together at the same time. And then a lot of resentment for it because, you know, my sister had some issues when she was younger with anorexia, alcoholism. And I guess I haven't really shared this because I don't know if I should. It's her life, but I think it should come out. Anorexic, alcoholic, terrible combo.
Yeah.
You know, she died at one point because she was so skinny, her body shut down and couldn't repair itself because all she was drinking was alcohol. So her liver shut down and she was in a coma for a little while and kind of rebooted. My parents poured all this time into her, all this energy, you know, tens of thousands of dollars for treatment facilities, all that stuff. And, you know, here I am going through my shit, and everybody just kind of was like, well, sucks for you, man. You know, that probably hurt more than anything else other than when my wife took my son. So there was a lot of resentment with, you know, everything around me. Just
dealing with all those feelings and shit. Like, dude, that's a negative feeling that gets inside you, and
it eats at you.
Yeah.
It eats at you a lot. And so, you know, I guess I haven't really talked about that side of it before. That's interesting now. Kind of comes out.
But like you said, like all this, like the part of you that takes notes, like all this stuff has an effect, and it's interesting to know, why did we go down this path? Why did we do things this way? So we can learn. I mean, the fact is, we're all human. We all screw up. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to get through this life without having some sort of regret. If you don't have regret, you're not paying attention to what's really going on, or you didn't live.
Yeah. So
let's skip forward here. You moved out here, and like, I think the first time I knew who you were because I knew your accomplishments and stuff. I think the first time I met you was at American Iron. And if I remember correctly, even when we first met, we started talking, and I was like, dude, you gonna get back into it? Like what happened? Why aren't you still doing it? Like, you're young. Like, why? Like, you still have years left.
So when I got to Reno at January 5th, or January 7th, I'm sorry, of 2016. And the reason I came to Reno is my mom had gotten liver failure. You know, I think the stress from my sister and then not talking to her son, it probably caught up to her, and I feel terrible for it. She got liver failure, and I got a call, you know, the summer before saying, your mom's not doing well, you should probably come out here. And of course, I'm like, well, hey, maybe y'all can send me like a few $100 so I can do that because I'm trying to get out of here. And of course it was, oh yeah, we can't do that. No. So it's like, that was another little slap in the face. Especially when I found out they were remodeling their house at the time for tens of thousands of dollars. God damn, man. So sister, house, dog, then somewhere down here is me.
Let me ask you something about that, because I'm always amazed. I'm very introspective, I guess.
Yeah.
I consider myself a tough guy, man. Like, I'll do shit till my nose bleeds, until my hands bleed. And I don't care. But I have to admit that there's times where shit happens emotionally, and it fucking crushes me, man. Like, something like that, I would try to be a tough guy, and I would try to ignore it, and I would say that it doesn't bother me, but it would definitely bother me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't.
And I would lash out in ways that I probably don't recognize until later.
Yeah. Well, you can't outlift it, and you can't callous your hands against it. There's no armor for it, you know. So yeah, back on, you know, where I was, why I moved to Reno was finally at the storage unit. I had saved up enough money, and I drove. I just left. I drove to Reno to see my mom, help take care of her, kind of patch things up with my family. And I met you a few months later. I'd gained some weight by then, but when I got to Reno, I was 227 pounds. That was the same weight I was at my very first strongman competition.
I was just saying, let's reference where you're at right now.
Well, during my first life in strongman, I had gotten as high as 341. I'm currently
Jesus, did you
sitting
get
about
that big?
325.
You were lean still, though.
Not at that point. No, I was 2009. I was fatter. I definitely had some fluff. But the next year, 2010, I was 312 or 310 at 11% body fat.
Yeah.
That's when I started working with Nathan Payton, my diet coach. When I met you, so when I started training and then, of course, eating again, I gained a lot of weight really quickly. I gained about 60 pounds pretty fast and then tapered back when I got to American Iron. I was probably about 270, you know, which for me is skinny.
Yeah, because you're, how tall, what are you, 6'3"?
6'4"-ish, yeah.
So that, yeah, that's still thin.
Yeah, 270 and thin. So I met you sometime around then. I was still under 300 pounds, and I was just getting back into training.
Yeah.
But all that time, through all of the misery and all of the collapse, the Travis back here was always dead set on going back to World's Strongest Man. I'll be there. I'll be there. Yes, absolutely. Anybody who ever asked me, yeah, I'm going to compete again. And, you know, of course, I got lots of laughs and I got lots of whatever, you're done, you know you're done. Well, now I can say, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know.
See, I remember when I was talking to you, I think you definitely said you wanted to do it, but I also heard some reservations.
Well, that's
like
because the first time.
Because I think like the first time you're like, well, I'm older now. I'm like, dude, you're like early 30s. Like, you got tons of time.
The doubt creeped into my mind when I started training again with how much strength I lost.
Yeah.
Because I remember my first workout, I did like
that's kind of an
dumbbell
ego
bench.
thing when you've been on. I mean, I deal with that now because I'm an old man and I lift numbers and people like, you lifting what? And I go, yeah, it sucks. I'm horrible.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Well,
like
these-
that's an
I mean-
ego hit. And you're thinking about all the work you put in to get that.
These
strength.
were amateur women's weights basically, because I was hitting 55-pound dumbbells and it was kicking my ass.
Yeah.
I remember deadlifting 405 for 3 reps, and I thought I broke my back. I went home and I'm like, I can't move. What the hell? How was 900 possible?
Yeah.
How? This is 40% of some of my best deadlifts. How did I fucking do that? How that mountain in front of me got a whole lot higher in that moment. I was like, holy shit. But I guess that's where it's important to fall in love with the process.
Yeah.
Because if I was at 225 bench, you're saying I'm going to bench 405 in a year, there's no way I'd have kept going.
I think too that, and I've talked about, because like when I walked away, my depression and stuff had gotten to the point, and it's like, dude, Chad, you need to take care of this. Like, you can't maintain a relationship. Like, you need to take care of this. And so I like lifted super light, like light bodybuilding type shit for a long time. And when I went, okay, like things are pretty good. Like, I'd like to start training heavy again. I think I even wrote an article on my column on Elite about like at some point, if you're coming back, you have to go, this is what I did before. If I did 400 for 3 now, and I do 400 for 5 next week, that's a PR.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you got to really kind of change your mindset.
A post-apocalypse PR.
Yes.
That's kind of, I've given myself that.
Yeah. And because you're right, it's about, you still have to go back to, well, wait a minute, how did I do this in the beginning? I did this by chink, 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 laying
Exactly.
bricks.
And
if
tricky.
you go, dude, I want to be at 900 again, like, you just got to change that.
That's exactly
that realistic
you
goal.
start getting some momentum and you think, well, I used to do this.
Yeah.
And you got to catch yourself. But no. Yeah. You're not there. You are a new person. You are starting this a new way.
Yeah.
So it's double. I'm not only thinking about where everyone else is, I'm thinking about where I used to be.
Right.
So I got to cut both of those off.
Mm-hmm.
But it is nice when, I've had the post-apocalypse PRs, and then I've had actual PRs this past year. My squat, I was the best
But that's the
squats I've
positive
ever
thing.
done.
It's you did those post-apocalyptic PRs.
Yeah.
That built you to now actually creating numbers better than you did before.
Just finding a way to, any trick you can get to keep
like,
you on the right track.
I think you're kind of like me. I don't think you like talking about yourself so much, maybe? And
No, not
and you
usually.
don't really like bragging about yourself?
I have a hard time getting sponsors.
Yeah, it's like it's hard for you to go, hey, I did this world record, and I'm just like, I'll just shut up. Like, I generally won't talk about it. But, like, I mean, if you do a PR now, like, that's twice.
Yeah.
You built yourself to the top,
Yeah.
and then you crashed. Then you built yourself again.
I was pretty proud of my deadlift, especially. I definitely put that one out there. I was like, yes, y'all can't believe this shit. Look.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm doing a little better giving myself some credit for some of the things. But like you say, it's still hard to talk, at least accomplishments.
Yeah.
It's hard to talk about what I went through, but it's important to talk about what I went through, so I can do that easily.
I think it's easier to talk about my fuck-ups
Yeah.
than my great accomplishments.
Yes, exactly. But that's probably, just your teacher nature.
Yeah.
Could
be. Oh, I actually have my business partner when I'm doing stone. I'll be out cutting stone or something, and I come back in, and the people that own the house are like, "You hold world records," and I'm just like, "Oh man, I just want to put the stone in today." Crap, Doug, shut up.
Yeah, I'll get some of that sometimes. Like, yeah, but it is what it is. People want to talk about how, you're a badass or this or that. And I'm like, I'm just a guy that likes to work out.
Yeah.
I just happen to be good at it, man. That's all.
That's what I say. There's a lot of areas in my life where I suck.
Yeah.
I'm really good at lifting shit.
That's exactly it.
That's what I do.
Which I guess, it's important to find what you're good at. And so I try to turn that into a lesson. I'm like, yeah, I found what I was good at.
I think it's fun too. Like, I like talking about the fuck ups, and I tell people all the time, do that, because I get aggressive when I'm training people. And I'm like, do this, come on, get this in. This isn't that hard. And then I have to remember, and I go, you know what? The reason I know all this, because I've done it wrong every way you can do it wrong. That's how I learned this.
Yep. That's what I teach my guys about their injuries and all that. I'm like, look, I've had pretty much every injury that you can have, and I'm somehow still going. So I must kind of know what I'm doing with rehab.
I learned by screwing up. That's how I learned.
It's just, I guess that's another thing to be grateful for, is that you have a body that is tough enough and resilient enough for you to still be going after learning all those mistakes.
You know why I think that is, though? I think that, and this may be the case for you too, it was those years when we were younger where we didn't miss a session. And maybe we overtrained, maybe we didn't gain the strength that we did, but I think we built crazy ligament strength. I think we built crazy tendon strength. And we just got tough as shit.
Mental.
Yeah.
Yep.
So where it's like, you see, like I've seen in different sports that I've done and stuff, you see the guy who is a genetic freak. Mm-hmm. Everything came easy.
Yep.
Like his first injury, he's done. That's it. Like he's never going to come back.
More often than not. Yeah.
The dude that's been beat to crap, that worked his ass off, like you can just keep hitting the dude and he's not going to stop coming.
He'll keep getting up.
Like, he's just going to keep getting up because that's what he does.
Yep, that's exactly it.
He's actually learned he gets knocked down so he can teach himself to get back up.
That's exactly, and it doesn't seem, when you've been knocked down so many times, like this hamstring injury, people get so shocked when I say, it's just another chunk.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's just another chunk. People are like, but you tore your hamstring. I'm like, it's just another chunk, man. I got plenty more, and the body is so resilient, it'll keep finding ways. Yeah.
I just got another war wound to show off. Like,
yeah, there's just another hole back here, and somebody can go, what happened to that? Battle axe, man. Middle of battle,
It is. It's a really interesting journey. And I think that's like, I think that I was actually talking to somebody the other day. Like, it's not about, like I talk about Joseph Campbell's A Hero's Journey all the time. It is about the journey. It's not about the end. Like, because eventually you're going to get to the end and you're going to be like,
it's not going to be what you expected.
Yeah, it's not going to be what you expected.
You're going to need to find something else to do.
It's not going to be the greatest thing ever.
Yep.
You're going to have to find another journey.
Well, see, that's where I love a lot of Buddhist principles. And I think that's a big one in Buddhism is, enjoy the journey, not the destination.
Yeah.
Or life is the journey, not the destination. Yeah. It's great to have that goal, but that's why it's so important to have all the little stops along the way or little goals along the way. But back on what you were saying about building that toughness, we had that conversation before. where, it's difficult to know if you could go back and change anything, would you change anything? And it's difficult to say, like as far as training goes, it's difficult to say, yes, I would change this because I'm so much wiser now. But if you go back too far and you're like, I would change how hard I trained, I would give myself more recovery, would you be as tough as you later became because of all that hard, insane training?
Well, I think I helped with a seminar with Dave Tate one time, and it was kind of about the evolution of an athlete. And where you go, hey, I want to do this, and you start, and you're just jumping into it, pounding everything, doing everything you can do, and you're like, oh, maybe I should learn a little bit. So then you start learning a little bit, and then so you start learning, and you're getting into it, and you're like, oh, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this, and then you get better and better, and then you kind of realize that, wait a minute, most of that shit is all crap. Like I just need to listen to what my So it's like this whole evolution, and I think that an athlete, especially a strength athlete, like, you need to go through that stuff. Like, if I have a young kid come in, or my younger football players, like, I'm going to beat them up way more.
So now
they're younger. I want to see how tough they are. I want to see how much they can take.
Here's the question on that. At what point do you know to scale it back, to be smarter in their training? And so at what point in that evolution do you stop? Like, if I'm doing it myself, do I stop beating myself into the ground and start listening to my body and then start training smarter? So how long does it take to build that mental toughness through suffering?
I don't think there is a set mark on that. I think
kind
that's
of have to figure it out individually.
You have to figure out. I remember reading George Halbert, great bench presser from Westside, still stupid strong. He was one of the first guys I listened to that said, listen, as you get stronger, you're going to need more rest. You're going to need more recovery. And there's guys out there that'll say, oh, well, you train more, you get used to it, then you can train even more. I don't believe that. I think there's a point where your central nervous system, you have such great muscle control, such great technique, such great mental control, that your central nervous system is you're overdoing it.
Yeah.
So he was one of the first guys that I really heard say that, and I tried to always remember that. My blue collar mentality doesn't want to believe that, but it is very true. And so when I spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I thought, you know what? Like, that actually makes sense. Like, life is not fucking fair. I know morons and assholes that get filthy rich. I know guys that work their asses off and never have nothing. I know good guys that'll give away everything they have and shirt off their back, and they never end up with anything. Like, there's a lot in life that doesn't really have any necessarily right or wrong or logic to it.
Yep.
But this makes sense to me. You start training, you bust your ass, you get better, you get smarter, you train hard, and you get to a point where it's like, hey, I don't have to train as much to keep getting stronger. And I now have more time to do some of those things that I sacrificed getting here.
That's a good point.
And it's like, so now I can expand my life and my mind as much as I am my body. So I've trained my body to the point where I can train it with minimal amounts of time compared to what I've been putting into it. And now I can spend more time doing some of this other stuff and getting out of the gym. Like, to me, that makes sense. That's fair. That's right.
So then, I guess, for those watching, what I've learned is to come up with some markers, some indicators, because like everybody, like you say, is different.
Yeah.
So we can't say you need to go through 3 years of hell to be tough enough
Right.
to then. So what I've learned to do with myself is like, let's find some checkpoints, some little things to notice.
Right.
To then say, okay, this is the point I need to reach where I can start transitioning into something else. So let's say we're a young athlete and we've got a young athlete watching. How would that young athlete know when he's put in enough time, toughening himself up, so to speak, to then start looking at things a little differently?
I don't know if we can put an actual marker on it. The way I would describe it is, when you start out, you should be continually, like, you should start out with the mindset of, hey, there is no one program, There is no set rep scheme. There is no set percentage. There's none of this stuff. I'm going to use this stuff to get started. But my goal as a strength athlete or an athlete at all is to learn my body. I want to be aware of what my body's actually going through, learn to read it, learn to know when, okay, hey, I'm feeling kind of shitty today. I need to nut up and just get my training done today. Or as to, did something happen that's bad? And once you learn, if you learn when you're kind of overtraining and you need more time off, like your body will tell you if you listen to it.
So then, a good way, this just gave me a good revelation. Train, make all the mistakes. When you start repeating the mistakes and you know the answer, that's your cue to then adapt and grow.
To start to change.
There we go. Okay.
And I also think in terms of lifting, you see a lot of beginners and they raise to this level, say an elite level or under elite level. And there's thousands of tens of thousands of lifters here. But above that, there's very few.
Yeah, you come down to 500.
I think a lot of that is because all these guys get stuck in that beat the crap out of themselves, meathead mentality.
And they don't learn.
I'm doing this program. It says this many reps, this percentage, this amount. I'm doing it no matter what because I'm a tough badass. And the first thing I go is, you're not a badass. You love beating the crap out of yourself.
Yeah.
How are you a badass if you're doing what you love to do? Like, training hard doesn't make me tough. I love to train hard. Like, it's easy.
That's a very good
Tell me eat better, and I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Don't go drinking on the weekend.
You're a badass if you can stay true to your diet.
Yeah. But I think that's honestly what separates a lot. And it was weird for me as I progressed up and started meeting more people and had more people to access. Like, there's a different mentality of the best lifters. And they have that mentality of like, dude, I don't care what Joe Schmo in the gym's doing.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be the best in the world, and I need to listen to my body. I was even Lee Priest. I saw a thing on Lee Priest on his Instagram the other day where he was talking about, I don't believe in overtraining. And he goes, if you're eating enough, if you're doing this enough, if you're doing this enough, you won't overtrain. And I went, well, that's true. And I actually reminded me of an article I wrote a long time ago. Are you overtraining or under recovering? Like, to truly know if you're overtraining, the first question you have to ask, am I getting all my food? Am I getting as much sleep as I need? Am I getting every single thing I need to do in order to this?
So, I mean, on that, I think you can overtrain because I know.
Oh, I know you can overtrain.
I've done all those things. I got my diet right, sleeping, taking naps, my little blow-up sleeve things, my hot, cold baths, and I'm still getting shit kicked out of me.
Oh, there's definitely.
So, you could definitely overtrain.
And that goes back to the point of that mental toughness and shit.
Yeah.
Like, we can push our bodies, and this is sound like an egotistical bragging bastard in my own head right now. Like, we can push our bodies more than most people can.
I think, yes.
Like, we've developed and we have decades pushing ourselves this hard. Like, it's a skill that we created.
You got everybody starting here more or less. You got people who elevate themselves. But then when you've stayed at this level for a decade of training, you open a different level. It's like you unlock, this becomes normal, and the new pushing yourself hard is something that most people have never even heard of.
And again, that's a skill.
So now
instead of training every day, I can train 2 or 3 days a week for an hour and 15 minutes and do more to my body than most people can do training every day, 7 days a week for 2 hours.
You could dig that much deeper. Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely it. How much force can you produce in one lift?
So, Travis, I'm running out of time here.
Oh, God,
dude, this conversation, I'm so stoked. This was so great.
Cool.
If there's any way I can get you back again, I think we could sit down and talk for like 14 or 15 hours straight, probably, and just order pizzas or something.
I'm down for that. Yeah.
I love passing ideas with you because I think we think similar but different. So, like, you'll say something a little different and it makes me go, oh, man, what about
That's what I had, that revelation moment
those
with,
little epiphanies, and those are
make all your mistakes when you start repeating them and you know the answer. That's when you know you level up. That for me, I can't wait to go and tell my clients this as I'm trying to teach them.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, I kind of like the little venue I came up with. Like, I'm hoping it shows on the camera that, like, it's just me and him bullshitting. This is an hour and a half of me and him bullshitting. And you guys get to listen in on it. Like, so
Yeah, man,
I think that was pretty cool, and I think this is going to be a great video, man. I really appreciate
Awesome.
you,
Well, dude, thanks for having me, man.
having me out here. And
I appreciate it.
doing it again, or we should team up and interview other people or some shit. I don't know.
Those poor bastards. That would be fun. That could be really interesting, actually. Well, cool, man. I appreciate you having me.
All right, sir. That's it. Chad Ikes, Courage Barbell. Please like the channel, subscribe to the channel, share the channel, and all that other crap. We're out.